Hello friends, my name is Michelle Fondin and I'm the author of Help, I Think My Loved One is an Alcoholic, a survival guide for lovers, family, and friends. And welcome to our forum on alcoholism and addiction. Today we're going to talk about what to expect during your first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting or Al-Anon meeting. In particular, we're going to focus a little bit more on the first AA meeting because I am more familiar with AA than Al-Anon, which is a little bit weird because I am not an alcoholic. However, I've attended way more AA meetings for two reasons. The first reason is in preparation for my book, this book right here, I attended a lot of AA meetings and spoke to a lot of alcoholics in recovery. And the second reason is that my alcoholic loved one went through a period where he was attempting recovery and I joined him for many AA meetings, probably close to 100 maybe. So I've been to a lot more AA meetings than Al-Anon meetings, and that is why the focus is going to be a little bit more on AA. If this is your first meeting, I know you're probably scared and super apprehensive, and you might even be very resistant to going, and you might think that it's some sort of cult. But I am here to assure you that it's a super friendly place. Now, not all meetings are exactly the same. Of course, the people make up the meetings, but the program is super solid, and most hardcore AA meetings or Al-Anon meetings are going to follow a very tight format. Now, there are varieties of meetings. So in AA, for example, you might find a big book meeting. You will have open or closed meetings. Now, an open meeting is anyone can attend. That means family and friends can attend, social workers can attend, pre-med students or doctors can attend. Anyone who's a little bit curious about Alcoholics Anonymous can attend these meetings. And then they have closed meetings, which means that it's only for alcoholics in recovery or alcoholics that are curious about attending the AA meetings. And then there are different varieties. There are meditation meetings where you meditate for part of the meeting. There are advanced step meetings. There are 12 tradition meetings. So there are a lot of different styles of meetings, and there are certainly meetings for beginners. You don't have to go to a meeting for a beginner. Try to find a meeting that is close to your home and that fits into your schedule. Now, another thing about attending an AA or Al-Anon meeting, if you do not have a car and you don't have the financial resources to get to the meeting, like let's say take a bus or take the metro, an AA member will definitely come and pick you up at your home and take you to the meeting and bring you back after the meeting. All you need to do is maybe call or email if there's an email on the website that has the group leader, or usually it's like the group treasurer. They have positions of leadership, and oftentimes there is an email on the site where the meeting is held, so you can email someone, just say, I need a ride. This is my first meeting and I need a ride. And do not hesitate, because people in those meetings, especially people in recovery, they're there for service. And that's part of the program, is being of service to other alcoholics. That is before you even get to the meeting. When you get to the meeting, expect that the meeting will be about 1 hour long. People usually keep it to that. They usually don't go beyond. It really depends. Some meetings want everyone to be able to share who wants to share, and they will carry the meeting on a little bit longer, maybe an hour and a half. But most meetings, especially daytime meetings, they really try to keep to that hour, because a lot of times at lunch, for example, people will come to an AA meeting during their lunch hour and they have to get back to work. So they technically keep it to that hour or slightly under an hour. Also, if there are back-to-back meetings at the site, they need to keep those meetings on time. When you walk in, you can expect a couple of things. The chairs will either be in a circle, so they'll either be like completely in a circle and facing inward to the inner circle. They could be in rows. I've seen that too. Most of the time, the more preferable format is something like in a circle, a letter U, or a semicircle, and that way everyone can kind of see everyone else, and it's better for sharing. It's harder to share when you're in a theater type seating where there are several rows and you don't really see the person who's speaking, and sometimes you can't even hear the person who's speaking either, which is kind of against what AA is all about. You really want to be able to hear the stories of others. So the next thing is you'll come and sit down. When it's meeting time to start, they have papers like this sitting on a few of the chairs. And those papers, there's the preamble, the AA preamble that will be read. There's another sheet with the 12 steps and or 12 traditions, just depending. And there's also going to be another one with the secretary thing about donations, and I'll read that so you guys know what to expect. So let's talk a little bit about donations. You do not have to give anything to your AA meeting, especially when you're starting out. Usually financial devastation is a huge issue with alcoholism and addiction, especially for families of alcoholics too, because a lot of times there's job loss. All of the money goes toward the addiction and not toward the bills. Don't worry about contributing money, especially in those first few meetings. But if you want to, usually people are giving about $1, and some people give more, just depending on their income level. But do not feel that you have to have $1 in order to go into an AA meeting or an Al-Anon meeting. Just show up. It's really important that you do show up, because the seasoned members will be giving money into the basket. And then when you can afford it, then it's your turn to give money into the basket. Usually there's a leader for the meeting, and that leader is called the chairperson. The chairperson is going to start the meeting, and it usually starts with the AA preamble. And again, like I said, I'm going to focus a little bit more on AA. Al-Anon mirrors this pretty closely. So if you are a member of Al-Anon or you're interested in going to Al-Anon, just know that it kind of mirrors, it's very similar. So the AA preamble says, Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So that's what's read in the beginning. Now, depending on the meeting, sometimes there will be a moment of silence. In this outline that I downloaded for a suggested AA meeting, it gives the Serenity Prayer, but the Serenity Prayer in all of the meetings that I've been at, they all say the Serenity Prayer at the end of the meeting instead of the beginning of the meeting. Usually they'll do a moment of silence, and the moment of silence is for those who are still drinking and affected by addiction. And it's a way to also give thanks to your creator, to your higher power, for bringing you to the meeting, keeping you sober for one day and one day only, because in AA, you only have today. You don't know about tomorrow, but you hope that tomorrow you will be able to stay sober through your higher power. So there's that moment of silence. And then after that, they usually do announcements. So the chairperson will do some sort of announcements, like if there's a conference coming up, or if there's something about stacking the chairs after the meeting, or if there's a position open in leadership, such as a secretary or a treasurer position open, or if another meeting needs a chairperson. So that is usually like the business stuff that happens at the beginning of the meeting. Then you have a spokesperson. So the spokesperson could be the chairperson, or it could be just someone that the chairperson selected. And that person will usually start the meeting by giving their testimony. Now, it depends. Like I said, there are different themes. So, for example, let's say that the theme is 12 steps, and the week that you go, they happen to be on step 3. What the speaker will do is state step 3, explain step 3, and then they give their testimonial about step 3 in their alcoholism and recovery. So that's usually how it goes. So the keynote speaker will usually speak for about 5 minutes, and then the meeting will be open, and they will actually say that now the meeting is open for sharing. Now, depending on the chairperson, sometimes they will select people. They might select newbies. If you do not want to speak, you can just say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, I'm an alcoholic, pass." And you can just opt to not speak, and that is perfectly fine. You never have to speak. It's never compulsory to speak at a meeting. However, just be aware that people are really friendly and they're there to help you. And sometimes if you don't speak after the meeting, someone will come up to you and just introduce themselves and see if there's anything that they can do to help you. or they'll invite you back to a meeting. So when the meeting is open, it's usually focused on the topic at hand. If the topic is, for example, step 3, then you will do your share based on that step. But it could be just anything. It could be honesty, or it could be helping other alcoholics. Like, there's a lot of different things that it could be. It doesn't just have to be the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. Oh, and before that, I totally forgot. After the preamble, they will usually read the 12 steps. In Al-Anon, I've heard them read the 12 steps and 12 traditions. In AA meetings, typically they're just reading the 12 steps. I don't think I've ever been to an AA meeting where they read the 12 traditions. Typically they'll have the 12 traditions posted up somewhere in a room. If it's a room that has AA meetings on a continual basis. If it's not, if it's a borrowed space, they won't have anything up, but they will read through the 12 steps. Sometimes new members will be asked to introduce themselves. Otherwise, it'll just go free sharing. Sometimes if it's in a circular pattern, then they'll have each person in a circle share. And if you don't want to share, you just say pass. That's it. Like I said, there's no obligation. Then afterwards, the halftime, you'll either do this at the halftime or at the end of the meeting. The meetings that I've been to mostly have a halftime. And the halftime is basically like at the half-hour mark, the chairperson will speak up, and this is what they're going to read. They'll read, "We have no dues or fees in AA. We are entirely self-supporting, declining outside contributions. This self-support includes our rent for this room, the coffee and refreshments, and contributions to our central office." So we'll just say wherever you're located. The basket is for loose change and for the meetings, and to take meetings into facilities where members can't come to meetings. It'll say something along those lines, and then they'll pass the basket around, and usually during this break time, you can go to the bathroom or get some more coffee and then come back and sit down for the second half of the meeting. And then the chairperson will say, like, the second half of the meeting is open now for sharing. And that's usually how it goes. And if no one's, sometimes it can get super awkward if you're in a small meeting and no one speaks and everyone just kind of sits there. And that's okay too. Then at the close of the meeting, everyone gets up and they hold hands in a circle. And you will probably say the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And sometimes you'll say the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father. It just depends on the meeting. Around here in Northern Virginia, usually they're doing both. They're saying the Serenity Prayer and the Our Father. And they also shout out a little prayer for the alcoholics out there that are still suffering from the disease of alcoholism. Then they close the meeting, and then people usually stay for fellowship. So they can stay for fellowship for a few minutes or a half an hour. It's really totally up to you. But that first meeting can be a little bit overwhelming, but just know that it's not scary. It's really, really not scary. People are so nice and so welcoming, and I've never been to an AA meeting where people were mean, where they were mean-spirited. I just wasn't. In Al-Anon, it was a little bit different. I felt that it was a little bit colder in the room, so to speak, and I just don't know why. Maybe I just didn't find the right Al-Anon meeting. That probably is the case. I don't know. But in AA, I've never met anyone in a meeting that was mean-spirited or not nice or didn't make you feel welcome. On the complete contrary, I find in AA meetings, people go completely out of their way to make you feel welcome, to get your phone number. It's like they want to make sure that you stay in the program because they've learned to love the program because the program saved their life. The question of the day is, how did you feel during your first AA meeting or your first Al-Anon meeting? Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe to my channel below. Share this video with friends, family, and your dog. Please support me on Patreon, and I will see you in the next video.